The Council's secret plan. The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for over 1,000 years. It was a powerful alliance of many alien species, each older and stronger than the last. They controlled trade, technology, and war across the known galaxy. No species had ever challenged their authority. No species had ever dared. Until now. For centuries, the Council had ignored humanity. Earth was considered a small, unimportant planet in the far reaches of space. Humans had only just begun exploring beyond their solar system. Their ships were slow, their weapons weak, and their technology outdated. At least that was what the Council believed. But something had changed. Reports from spies and intelligence officers were troubling. Humanity was advancing. Too fast. The Council's supreme commander, Exaltor of the Threxian Dominion, sat at the head of the Grand Chamber, staring at the holographic report in front of him. His scaled fingers tightened into a fist as he read the data. "Impossible," he growled. The report showed something that should not exist, a human warship, unlike anything in the Council's database. It was bigger, faster, and armed with weapons that could rival the strongest fleets in the galaxy. The worst part, it was launching in less than 24 hours. The chamber was filled with high-ranking council members, admirals, politicians, and strategists from dozens of species. The air was thick with tension. They had all seen the report, and none of them could believe it. "How did they build this ship?" one of them asked, their voice full of disbelief. "Our spies failed us," another said angrily. "We thought they were still experimenting with basic space travel. Now they have a warship." The Supreme Commander slammed his clawed hand on the table, silencing the room. "It does not matter how they built it. What matters is that we stop them before they can use it." The Council had been planning to destroy Earth quietly. Their strategy was simple. Humanity was expanding too fast, so they would eliminate them before they became a threat. A fleet had already been prepared, disguised as a diplomatic mission. Their orders were to arrive at Earth, disable its defenses, and erase the planet before anyone could react. But now, things were different. This warship, this UNS Valkyrie, was a problem. If the humans launched it, they could defend themselves. Worse, if they produced more ships, they could challenge the Council's rule. One of the Council's war strategists, a cold and calculating being known as High Admiral Vrex, leaned forward. His species, the Ulari, were known for their ruthless efficiency in war. His 4 black eyes gleamed with concern. "We must act immediately," Vrex said. "If we wait, the humans will only grow stronger." The room murmured in agreement. "But how do we stop them?" another counselor asked. "If we attack now, openly, the humans will know it was us." "Who cares?" Vrex snapped. "They are insects. Crush them now before they become a plague." The Supreme Commander thought for a long moment. A full-scale attack on Earth was too risky. If the humans had built this ship in secret, what else were they hiding? Could they have allies? Hidden weapons? The Council could not afford to fight a war they were not prepared for. No, this needed to be handled quickly and quietly. "We send a strike team," Exaltor decided. "A small, fast fleet. Their mission is simple: destroy the Valkyrie before it launches." The plan was perfect. A sudden strike, swift and deadly. If the warship never launched, the Council's original plan could continue. Earth would be wiped out, and humanity would never become a problem. "But what if they fight back?" one of the advisors asked. "What if the Valkyrie is stronger than we think?" The Supreme Commander let out a cold laugh. "One ship, against the full power of the Council's forces, they will not last a single battle." The decision was made. A fleet of 20 elite warships was dispatched immediately. Their orders: find the UNS Valkyrie and destroy it before it could enter the war. As the Council chamber fell into silence, Supreme Commander Exaltor allowed himself to relax. Humanity was an ambitious species, but they had made a mistake. They had revealed their strength too soon. By the end of the day, their first warship would be nothing more than a pile of burning wreckage in space. Or so he thought. Because what the Council did not know was that the Valkyrie was already waiting for them. The UNS Valkyrie enters the war. The deep void of space was silent, but inside the UNS Valkyrie, the air was tense. The ship's crew had been waiting for this moment for months. Captain Elias Carter stood on the bridge, his hands gripping the command console. He had read the intelligence reports. He knew the Galactic Council saw humanity as a threat. He knew they would try to stop the Valkyrie before it ever got the chance to prove itself. That was why the ship had been built in absolute secrecy. The Valkyrie was unlike any ship before it. It wasn't designed for exploration or diplomacy. It was designed for war. Its armor was made of reinforced titanium X, a new alloy that could withstand energy blasts. It had plasma railguns, powerful enough to punch through the strongest alien hulls. Its AI battle system, named Aegis, could analyze enemy movements in real time and counter their tactics instantly. Most importantly, the Valkyrie had something no other ship in the galaxy had, a warp drive faster than anything the Council had ever seen. As the ship drifted in the darkness of space, waiting near Neptune's orbit, Carter's second-in-command, Lieutenant Sarah Kane, turned to him. Her voice was steady but urgent. "Captain, long-range sensors just picked up multiple incoming contacts. Council warships. At least 20 of them." Carter's jaw tightened. He had expected them to come, but not this many. The Council wasn't just sending a small strike force. They were sending a fleet. "They really want us dead," Kane muttered. Carter's mind raced. He had been trained for war, but this wasn't a fair fight. The Valkyrie was powerful, but it was still only one ship. 20 against 1 were impossible odds. Unless... A slow smile formed on his face. "They think they're ambushing us," he said, "but they don't know we've been expecting them." Lieutenant Kane raised an eyebrow. "You're saying we turn this around on them?" Carter nodded. "We don't fight them head-on. We fight smart. We fight like humans." He turned to the crew. "Battle stations. Silent mode. We make them think they're still the hunters. But when the time is right, we strike first." The ambush at the edge of Sol. The Galactic Council fleet moved in formation, their warships cutting through the darkness of space like sharp blades. The lead ship, the Exertol Dreadnought, was nearly the size of a small moon, its energy cannons humming with power. Admiral Vazok, the commander of the fleet, watched the scanners with cold eyes. His mission was simple: destroy the UNS Valkyrie before it could escape Earth's system. But something was wrong. His ships had been scanning for over an hour, but there was no sign of the Valkyrie. No distress signals, no warp trails, nothing. "Where are they?" One of his officers hissed, frustration creeping into their voice. Vazok frowned. Humans were primitive, reckless creatures. But they weren't stupid. They had to know the Council would come for them. So why weren't they here? Then, without warning, boom! An explosion rocked one of the Council's smaller warships. "Enemy fire detected," a crew member shouted. Vazok's eyes widened. From where? The answer came a second later. Out of the darkness, the UNS Valkyrie appeared. It had been hiding near a massive asteroid in Neptune's orbit. Its stealth systems engaged. The Council thought they were the hunters, but in reality, they were the prey. And the Valkyrie had just sprung the trap. The battle begins. Carter didn't wait. The moment his ship uncloaked, the Valkyrie fired everything it had. 2 massive plasma railgun rounds shot forward, traveling at near-light speed. They tore through the hull of a Council warship, splitting it in half. The explosion sent shockwaves through the fleet. "Target down," Kane shouted. Carter didn't celebrate. The enemy still had 19 more ships. "Keep moving. We can't let them lock onto us," he ordered. The Valkyrie weaved through the battlefield, using its superior speed to avoid enemy fire. It was smaller than the enemy ships, but it was faster, deadlier, and smarter. The Council's ships tried to surround it, but the Valkyrie's eye, Aegis, was already 2 steps ahead. Incoming missile lock, Kane warned. Aegis responded instantly, hacking into the enemy targeting systems. The missiles, instead of hitting the Valkyrie, turned back and exploded against the Council's own ships. The bridge of the Lid Council dreadnought shook violently. Vazok clawed at his console, fury in his reptilian eyes. "This is impossible," he roared. "It's one ship. One." But that was the mistake the Council had made. They thought one ship couldn't change the course of a battle. They thought they had all the power. They thought humans would fight like everyone else. They were wrong. The trap closes. As the Valkyrie continued to strike and evade, Carter sent a secret transmission. A few seconds later, a hidden fleet to cloak behind the Council's warships. They weren't alone. Earth had been preparing for this moment. A fleet of 10 human warships, smaller than the Valkyrie, but armed with the same advanced weapons, emerged from the shadows. "Fire at will," Carter ordered. And just like that, the ambushers became the ambushed. Humanity's unpredictable tactics. The Galactic Council fleet was in chaos. They had entered the battle expecting an easy victory, a simple execution of a lone human warship. Instead, they found themselves trapped, surrounded, and losing ships fast. Admiral Vazok slammed his fists against his control panel as another of his warships exploded in a ball of fire. The humans fought in ways the Council had never seen before. They didn't follow standard battle formations. They didn't engage in predictable duels. Instead, the humans were using hit-and-run attacks, electronic warfare, and deceptive maneuvers. "This isn't possible," Vazok hissed. But it was happening. The Valkyrie's deadly dance. The UNS Valkyrie was at the center of the chaos, moving like a ghost through the battlefield. One moment, it was in front of a Council warship. The next, it was gone, dodging energy blasts and counterattacking with precise railgun shots that punched through the enemy's defenses. Carter watched the battle unfold from the bridge, his grip steady on the command console. "Status?" he asked. Lieutenant Kane checked the tactical display. 5 enemy ships down. 4 more damage. Our fleet is still holding. Carter nodded. That was good, but the fight wasn't over yet. The Council still had larger and stronger ships. If the battle dragged on, humanity's advantage could slip away. He needed to change the game. "Target their command ship," Carter ordered. "If we take out their admiral, the rest of the fleet might break." Aegis, the Valkyrie's eye battle system, responded instantly. Calculating optimal strike pattern. Target locked. The Valkyrie accelerated, heading straight for the Exertal dreadnought, the Council's flagship. Vazok saw them coming. He grinned. Finally, they fight like fools. He charged his ship's main cannons, preparing to destroy the Valkyrie in a single shot. But Carter wasn't going in for a head-on fight. The trick that changed the war. Just as the Council flagship fired, the Valkyrie vanished. "What?" Vazok's eyes widened. The shot missed completely, and suddenly the Valkyrie reappeared behind his ship. "How?" one of his officers shouted. Carter smirked. "They still don't know about our warp blink drive." The Valkyrie had used a micro-warp jump, a technology no other species had. It allowed them to teleport short distances in battle, something the Council had never seen before. Before Vazok could react, the Valkyrie unleashed its full firepower. Boom! The Exertal dreadnought shook violently, its shields collapsing. "Fire everything," Carter commanded. The Valkyrie's railguns, torpedoes, and disruptor cannons all struck the enemy's command ship at once. Explosions ripped through its hull. The Council fleet falls apart. Admiral Vazok barely had time to react before the bridge exploded around him. His ship, the largest and most powerful in the fleet, was crumbling. The last thing he heard was the warning sirens and the panicked screams of his crew before. His dreadnought was gone. Victory for humanity. The remaining council ships hesitated. Their leader was dead. Their command structure had collapsed. One by one, they turned and fled. Carter exhaled as he watched the enemy retreat into the darkness of space. They ran. Kane whispered in disbelief. Carter nodded. Because they're afraid. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council had been defeated in open battle, and humanity had proven that they were no longer just a small, weak species. They were warriors. The Galactic Council's worst nightmare. The battle was over. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council had suffered a devastating defeat. Humanity's first warship, the UNS Valkyrie, had single-handedly destroyed the Council's most powerful fleet, outmaneuvering and outthinking an enemy that had once believed itself to be invincible. And now, the entire galaxy was watching. The Council in crisis. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was in turmoil. The holographic screens in the massive hall replayed the battle footage, captured from the Council's own warships. 20 ships had been sent to destroy one human vessel. And yet only a handful had returned, defeated, humiliated, and broken. The council members, powerful rulers from dozens of alien species, were furious. How is this possible? One of them roared, slamming a fist against the table. They were a primitive race. They had barely left their home system, and now they've wiped out one of our fleets. They must have stolen our technology. Another counselor hissed. There is no way they could have built such a ship on their own. They didn't just build it, a cold voice interrupted. The chamber fell silent as Overlord Saltor stepped forward. His golden armor gleamed under the bright lights, his reptilian eyes burning with rage. He had personally approved the strike against humanity. He had expected an easy victory. Now, the failure had humiliated him. Their warship was not stolen technology, he said. His voice was calm but deadly. It was designed for war in a way none of our ships ever were. We build fleets for control. They build ships to win. A low murmur spread through the chamber. Some members still refused to believe it. But the footage didn't lie. The Valkyrie's advanced weapons, stealth systems, and unpredictable tactics had been unlike anything in the Council's war records. And now, they had a far greater problem. A dangerous future. They will build more, whispered one of the elder counselors, his voice trembling. The words sent a chill through the room. One ship had devastated an entire fleet. What would happen when humanity built 10 warships? 100, 1,000. They could challenge us, another counselor admitted. Not just defend themselves, but take the war to us. The thought was terrifying. The Council had ruled the galaxy with an iron grip for centuries. No species had ever dared to oppose them. Now, humanity had proven that the Council was not invincible. For the first time in galactic history, the rulers of the stars were afraid. A war is coming. Overlord Saltor clenched his jaw. We must act now, he said, his voice filled with menace. If humanity is left unchecked, they will spread. They will grow, and one day, they will rule us all. He turned to his war generals. We must prepare for total war. Silence filled the chamber. Some counselors nodded in agreement, their expressions dark. They knew what Saltor was saying was true. Humanity would not stay weak forever. But others hesitated. Attacking Earth now would be suicide. One of them argued. If one human warship can defeat us, we cannot risk a full invasion. The Overlord's eyes burned with hatred. He knew that wiping out humanity would not be easy. They were not just another weak species. They were something different, something dangerous. But he was not ready to give up. Not yet. Meanwhile, on Earth, back at Earth's military command, the victory was being celebrated. The UNS Valkyrie had proven that humanity could fight and win. But Captain Elias Carter knew the war was not over. Standing on the bridge of his ship, he gazed at the vastness of space. He could almost feel the eyes of the Galactic Council upon him. "They're not going to let this go," Kane said quietly. Carter nodded. "No, they won't." Humanity had struck first. Now the Council would strike back. But Carter wasn't afraid. The Valkyrie was just the beginning. In the shipyards of Mars, in the hidden military bases on Luna, new warships were already being built. More powerful, more advanced. Because humanity knew one simple truth. The war for the galaxy had just begun. Aftermath. The fear of humanity. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Council's fleet had been destroyed. Not by a rebellion, not by another superpower, but by one single human warship. For the first time in 1,000 years, the rulers of the galaxy had been defeated in open battle. Now, every species, every government, every warlord, every empire had just one question. Who were the humans? The reactions across the galaxy. On the far side of the galaxy, in the high towers of the Drillan Trade Empire, merchants whispered in fear. "The humans are dangerous," one of them said. "If they can build ships like that, soon they will take over the markets as well. They will not just fight wars. They will take control of everything." The Zifran war clans, a warrior species that had once mocked humans as weaklings, now studied the battle footage with respect. "They fight like us," one of their warlords muttered, watching as the Valkyrie outmaneuvered and destroyed the Council's fleet. "No," another corrected, "they fight better." But the most fearsome reaction came from the Council's allies, the species that had relied on the Council's power to keep order. "The Council is supposed to be invincible," one of their leaders growled. "If the humans can defeat them, then they can defeat us." And that thought terrified them all. Humanity prepares for war. Back on Earth, the victory was not celebrated with parades. There were no grand speeches or moments of joy, because everyone knew the truth. The war was far from over. The UNS Valkyrie had won one battle. But the Council controlled thousands of fleets, millions of warships, and entire star systems. They would not accept this defeat. And so, humanity did what it did best. They prepared. On Mars, entire factories were now dedicated to building more warships. The Valkyrie was a prototype, but soon there would be hundreds like it. On Luna, scientists worked to improve the warp drive, making it even faster and deadlier. And deep in the asteroid belt, secret military bases were testing weapons never seen before. Humanity was not waiting for the Council's response. They were preparing to take the fight to them. The Council's desperation. Back in the Council's Grand Chamber, Supreme Commander Zaltor sat in silence. His claws tapped against the metal table as he listened to the panic and fear of the Council members around him. "They must be crushed," one of them shouted. "We must destroy them before they build more ships," another agreed. But Zaltor did not speak. Instead, he stared at the battle footage on the massive screen before him. The Valkyrie, moving like a ghost through the battlefield, outsmarting and overwhelming his fleet. The Council had ruled through fear for centuries. They had crushed every uprising, eliminated every threat, and silenced every enemy. But the humans were different. They did not beg for mercy. They did not fear the Council's power. They had faced the strongest fleet in the galaxy and won. And worse, they were just getting started. For the first time in his life, Zaltor felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. The war begins. The Council had two choices. They could try to make peace with humanity, or they could wipe out Earth before it was too late. Zaltor already knew what choice they would make. The Council had ruled for too long. They would never accept another species rising to power. Which meant one thing. The war for the galaxy had begun. And this time, humanity was ready. The beginning of a new era. The battle at the edge of Sol was over. The Galactic Council's fleet had been shattered, its supreme commander humiliated, and the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted forever. But for humanity, this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Earth's next move. Deep inside the UN Military Command Center, high-ranking officers, scientists, and political leaders gathered in a secure underground bunker. The holographic battle map displayed their hard-won victory, but no one looked relieved. Because everyone in that room knew one thing: the Council will come back, and next time, they won't underestimate us. General Marcus Steele, the Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, looked around the room. His face was grim. "We survived the first attack," he said, his voice echoing. "But we cannot wait for the next one. We need to take the fight to them." A murmur spread across the room. Some nodded in agreement. Others hesitated. "Attacking the Council head-on is suicide," one of the diplomats argued. "They control thousands of systems. They have entire armadas." Steele's expression didn't change. "They also believed one ship couldn't defeat 20. He paused. They were wrong. The room fell silent. Then a young engineer stood up. "We're already working on new warships, sir," she said. "The Valkyrie was just the first prototype. The next generation will be faster, stronger, and deadlier." A scientist added, "Our research teams have been studying the wreckage of the Council's ships. We've already reverse-engineered parts of their shield technology." Steele nodded. "Then we accelerate production. Earth will not wait for the Council to strike again." The decision was made. Humanity would not just defend itself. It would expand. The birth of the Terran fleet. Across Mars, Luna, and the asteroid belt, massive shipyards came to life. Engineers worked around the clock, designing and constructing humanity's first true war fleet. Each ship was modeled after the UNS Valkyrie, but with improvements. Faster warp drives that could jump deeper into enemy territory. Stronger railguns that could pierce even the thickest alien armor. New stealth technology that made them invisible to enemy sensors. Within months, the first fleet of Terran warships was ready. Each one bore a new insignia, a golden eagle clutching the shattered Council emblem. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer just another species in the galaxy. It was a rising power. The Council's fear grows. On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Council was in crisis. The overlords of the Council sat in their towering chamber, watching footage of human warships being built at an alarming speed. "They're preparing for war," one of them whispered. The Supreme Commander, Zaltor, clenched his fists. "We should have wiped them out before they had a chance to rise," he growled. "Now, it may be too late." One of the older counselors shook his head. "Humanity is still small. They cannot fight us directly." Zaltor's eyes burned with fury. "Then we crush them before they grow." The Council had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. They would not be challenged by a species that had barely left its homeworld. But deep inside, Zaltor knew the truth. Humanity was unlike any species they had ever faced. They were not just surviving. They were adapting. And soon, they would come for the Council itself. A galaxy on the brink of war. "We did not start this war, but we will finish it." Tensions across the stars began to rise. The Drelan Trade Empire started secret talks with Earth, sensing an opportunity to profit from the war. The Zifran war clans sent envoys to study human tactics, eager to see if they had found a worthy enemy. Rebel factions on Council-controlled planets saw hope for the first time in centuries. If humans could defeat the Council, then maybe others could too. The galaxy was changing. Lines were being drawn. Some would stand with humanity. Some would stand against them. But no one could ignore them anymore. Because humanity had proven one undeniable truth. They were not prey. They were not weak. They were the future. The final message. As the first Terran fleet prepared for launch, Captain Elias Carter stood aboard the UNS Valkyrie, looking out into the endless void of space. He opened a secure channel, broadcasting to the entire galaxy. His voice was calm, but his message was clear. "We did not start this war, but we will finish it." The signal was received in every corner of the galaxy. The message was simple. Humanity had arrived. and the galaxy would never be the same again.